Hello, dear friends. The old world is breaking down since Pluto left Capricorn and entered Aquarius. Opinion piece. Who benefits from Syria? Black Swan event. Lightning offensive. Major global change. No one saw this coming. Game theory operation. Low intensity world war. Just like the Soviet collapse. Will it change human history? Everyone knew but kept quiet. Was it allowed by the White Hats? No one wants Iran to control Syria. Will hidden biological weapons be exposed? Is the Persian and Ottoman Empire resurgent? Google unveils its new quantum computing chip. Let's start. Who benefits from the crisis of Syria and the fall of the regime? It is difficult to answer this question because there are many beneficiaries, but there are also many more harmed. This crisis has left millions of Syrians in need of humanitarian aid, with more than 30 million requiring assistance and almost 90% living in poverty. At the moment, armed groups benefit financially by charging Syrians trying to return to the country, with fees ranging from $300 to $600 per person. According to Perplexity, Turkey is considered the main beneficiary of the fall of the Assad regime. It controls an area along Syria's northern border and supports rebel factions. Its priority is to reduce the presence of Kurdish militias near its border and to achieve the return of Syrian refugees. In contrast, Russia has been a key ally of the Syrian government since Soviet times, and Iran and Hezbollah have provided support to the Assad regime during the conflict, while the US maintained its influence through its alliance with the Kurdish forces. According to Elon Musk, American taxpayers are funding both sides of the war in Syria, as militias armed by the Pentagon fight those armed by the famous three-letter agency. The Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Shams and its allies managed to overthrow Assad in a lightning-fast 12-day offensive. No one saw this coming, nor such a rapid conquest in a matter of hours. Therefore, this can be considered a full-blown Black Swan event. Don't be fooled by the media that calls Al-Qaeda soldiers freedom fighters. This is all a matrix, a color revolution. Definition. The Syrian civil war is an armed conflict that began in Syria following anti-government protests in 2011. These protests ended in clashes between the country's armed forces and the opposition, which includes several Islamist groups. The war eventually degenerated into an international conflict between several countries, including the two largest nuclear powers, as well as other regional ones. Game theory. According to the Storm Rider, we are witnessing a very complicated game theory operation taking place around the world within the Black Swan events that will change the history of humankind and the way we live. Game theory is a useful tool for analyzing situations of conflict and cooperation between rational actors. It has been applied to various fields, including economics, politics, and international relations. The Syrian conflict has become a kind of low-intensity world war, where all regional powers meet. According to the Storm Rider, the White Hats allowed the coup in Syria to happen and hidden biological weapons will be exposed. No one saw this coming. Much less did anyone think that the rebels would capture Damascus so quickly and overpower the entire Syrian army in a matter of hours. What happened then? Russia withdrew satellites and intelligence information in the region. Russia withdrew missile defense in the region. Iran withdrew all missile systems. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad withdrew the activation of military forces and cut off communications and intelligence information. No one wants Iran to control Syria and its oil, and set a precedent for a new caliphate that would unite with Iraq and the Muslim world heavily controlled by Iran. Implications. According to Mike Adams, Syria falls to Western proxy forces, which is a major strategic blow to Iran, Hezbollah and Russia. The fall of Syria that has just occurred has enormous global economic and strategic implications. It allows Israel will rapidly expand its territory eastwards towards Iran. According to Sorjafal, the Syrian Army Command announced that President Bashar al-Assad's 24-year rule had come to an end. President Assad was overthrown by insurgents and then left Damascus, and his plane disappeared from the radar. He headed towards Russia. Assad is said to have taken more than $75 billion in gold, precious stones, property idols, and cash to finance his exile in Moscow. New borders. According to Benjamin Fulford, the Middle East is not the only place where borders are going to be redefined and countries disappear. It seems that the agreement between East and West to create a 7-region council to deal with problems affecting the entire planet is being carried out. According to Fulford, what is happening is a Western version of the collapse of the Soviet Union. Political regimes are falling in the West, and in the coming weeks and months, many countries in the world are likely to cease to exist. What we are witnessing is the collapse of the Western Roman Empire after almost 3,000 years of existence. In his opinion, Turkey and Russia have presented an ultimatum to NATO, and they have no choice but to back down. There are many new reports confirming that what happened in Syria is a joint maneuver between Turkey and Russia. On the other hand, the jihadists who overthrew the government of President Bashar al-Assad have guaranteed the security of Russian military bases in the country. Erdogan claims Syria has had enough of war and the Syrian people deserve freedom, security and peace in their homeland. They are negotiating new borders with Turkey, meaning a kind of revival of the Persian and Ottoman empires is taking place. World change. World change. A world-altering change erupted as Syria fell into chaos, and Romania faced a stunning political shock, signaling a quest for control by the West. Damascus has fallen to Islamist forces led by Al-Qaeda-linked Abu Mohammed al-Julani, on whose head a $10 million bounty has been offered. Daniel Shapiro confirmed the U.S. intention to maintain its presence in eastern Syria. Islamist forces have reportedly stormed embassies, ransacked the Iranian embassy, and forced the evacuation of foreign diplomats. Meanwhile, Israeli military forces have moved tanks into disputed areas. Observers speculate that the chaos in Syria is a calculated move to fragment the region. Simultaneously, in Romania, anti-war candidate Călin Georgescu was heading for a historic victory in the presidential election. However, in a shocking twist, Romania's socialist-controlled Supreme Court annulled the election, sparking accusations of a coup. The Middle East is once again engulfed in flames, while Europe faces its own authoritarian attempts to seize power. Will this spiral into wider conflicts, or will people rise up against the powers that perpetuate these wars? The real truth is that Syria was already heavily infiltrated by banking and oil operations. Syria was a sleeper country that was going to be used in severe times in conflict in the Middle East, as Muslim countries were united against the Westerners. At the same time, Iran will go through a massive collapse, a near civil war event, and its financial institutions will see one of the biggest blows in a decade that will ignite a revolution among the people to cleanse the country. Middle East. Gaddafi wanted Assad while laughing, "Behind me you will go," in quotes. Syria could face an unavoidable Balkanization scenario. Mohammed al-Bashir appointed acting Syrian Prime Minister until March. The UN condemns any violation of the integrity of Syria after Israeli attacks. Israel attacked 2 Syrian ports where 15 warships were docked. Hundreds of Israeli bombings overnight, according to Josh Eaton. Israel took advantage of rebel euphoria bombing Syria. Tehran claims 4,000 Iranians returned from Syria since Assad's fall. An observer claims that Israel has carried out 300 attacks on Syria. Turkey citizens Israel's occupation mentality for its entry into the Golan. Israeli tanks near Damascus, according to Reuters. Israeli played the game of chicken, while its tanks are 4 miles from Damascus. Israeli tanks are near Damascus as Israeli plane bombed the city. A loud explosion is heard in Damascus. Israeli tanks may be in the city. Israel denies advance of its troops towards Damascus. Whom to believe? Rebels announced they are determined to go to Israel to free Palestinians. Turkey's dividend for supporting rebels in Syria. Turkey's dividend winning for supporting rebels in Syria. Less inflation and more contracts for the reconstruction of the country. Blinken shows his support for the political transition process in Syria. Qatar establishes an air bridge to send food and medical aid to Syria. Economy. Julian Assange wrote on Telegram on December 4th that all citizens will receive information about the new economic and legal structures. Trump promises accelerated permits for those who invest $1 billion in the US. Elon Musk wants that the US will have no money for anything if it does not resolve the national debt. Texas prepare its own stock exchange to compete with Wall Street. X22 report. The economy is falling apart. The central bank is calculating the collapse by the time Trump takes office. But this will not work. Trump is showing people the way to the new economic system. According to Coach Jerry, in quotes, the coalition was never wavered in its overall mission. From the beginning, they have been very clear regarding this cinematic matrix construct. We were told that we are only getting a glimpse of the overall plan and that the actual date of change will remain an exclusive and elusive operation. No dates, it means no dates. Science. Google unveils its big quantum computing chip. Google reaches a milestone in quantum computing with its Willow chip, which solves in 5 minutes a task that a supercomputer would take 10 septillion years to complete. Google's Alphabet soars on the stock market after the advance in quantum computing with this Willow chip. Elon Musk plans to expand the artificial intelligence supercomputer Colossus. OpenAI announces the general availability of its Sora artificial intelligence model. Artificial intelligence discovered a huge lithium mine in Arkansas, USA. Antimatter will be transported by truck through Europe to be taken to laboratories. Astronomers identify a super-Earth with the same density as lead. Cleopatra's artifacts and coins unearthed in Egyptian temple. 35,000-year-old ritual room discovered in Israel. USA. Southern California is under the onslaught of flames. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake 60 miles northeast of Yerington, Nevada, was felt as far away as San Francisco. A preliminary magnitude 5.5 earthquake near Lake Tahoe was felt in the Bay Area. Sudden swarm of 7 earthquakes in New Madrid, Missouri on Monday. A swarm of significant earthquakes shakes Alaska's Aleutian Islands. Europe. The EU calls for no revenge in the transition of power in Syria. Austria announces mass deportations of some 40,000 Syrian refugees. The Vatican will open 5 holy doors on Christmas Eve. European airlines expect to earn 20% more in 2025 with rising demand. Hungary threatens the EU with vetoing the next budget if it does not release its frozen funds. The European Cyber Resilience Law, which seeks to protect digital products throughout their life cycle, is in force. Spain will grow by more than 2% in 2025 and will continue to be the European economic engine. The price of rent soars by 14.7% in November. The IBEX loses 12,000 points in its third session of cuts. The government blocks the alliance of PP and Jans to suspend the electricity tax. The hospitality industry increases its wage costs by 12% and cannot find workers. Spanish fishermen against the European plan. They believe that it would end the sector in Spain, destroying 70,000 jobs. Pedro Sánchez distances himself from the king. Paiporta, Notre Dame, and the Cathedral of Valencia show the tension. The number of people who go to mass increases by 2%, and the who go to church increases by 2%, and the number of weddings in the church decreases by 5%. Barcelona chosen to host one of the first 7 AI factories in the EU. Americas. Caravan of migrants seeks to reach the US before Trump becomes president. Sheinbaum signs decree to recognize the rights of indigenous and Afro-Mexican peoples. The Mexican Catholic Church asks the cartels for a truce on December 12th. Debt from the Mayan train work generate protest from transporters in Mexico. A Chinese floating city destroys fishing off the coast of South America. Lula da Silva undergoes successful intracranial surgery for hemorrhage. Argentina lowers the age of gun ownership from 21 to 18 years. The Argentine government authorizes the eviction of indigenous communities by decree. 1 year of Javier Milei's government. In quotes, We are making the largest and most abrupt adjustment in human history, and the society continues to support us with the same condition as on December 10th, he said in May. Chile's lower house approves law on expulsion of convicted or irregular migrants. The discovery in Colombia of the largest cash reserve in history would ensure its energy future. Boric creates commission to investigate abuse and deaths of children in state custody. Human Rights Watch denounces sexual exploitation and labor abuse of webcam models in Colombia. Ecuador will no longer have scheduled power outages starting December 20th. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.